Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Erica Scholars, and it is my pleasure to serve as the MC for today's event. The mission of the Emerge Forum is to create a space for Black women in tech to connect, collaborate, and become more self aware and conscious leaders. And the vision is to see Black women engaged, empowered, and elevated as leaders in the tech industry. The theme of this year's International Women's Day is Embrace Equity, and we have weaved it throughout today's program. I will now hand it off to Johanna Jones, President and CEO of ITSMF, who will provide opening remarks.
Thank you so much, Erica. Welcome to this International Women's Day event. It is my great pleasure to greet you this morning. As I was thinking about International Women's Day, I was reminded of an experience that I had recently that just shook me. As a child growing up, spending my summers and my vacations in Natchez, Mississippi, I remember exploring with some of my cousins and seeing in a pile of rubble this beautifully formed brick. And I noticed it because it was the only brick in a pile full of broken shards of glass and pieces of rock and concrete. This was the only one that was still fully formed. And as I examined this brick, I noticed a perfectly detailed handprint in that brick. And I ended up keeping it and taking it home and using it as a paperweight, using it to hold up books. But I could not understand how that perfectly formed handprint got in the brick. And it wasn't until recently that I watched a documentary that detailed how African slaves built some of the most prominent buildings in our country, and they frequently left fingerprints and handprints in the bricks to let people know that they were there, that they were here, that they contributed to this greatness, because otherwise no one would know. How many of us as women today are still leaving subtle reminders of our greatness, of our contributions to technology? We're still wondering, is somebody going to know what I've done? Am I going to get the credit? Am I going to get the opportunity? And I came here to tell you today that we must stop. We must throw the bricks that are keeping us from being unadulterated, unbothered, uninhibited, unobscured, and diminished, and walk boldly into 2023, claiming what is ours. When I think about our 5 female founders back in 1996, Deborah Christopher, Stephanie Parson, Elena Robinson, Sheila Talton, Joyce Lewis. Someone forgot to tell them to be obscured, inhibited, and that you can't do that. When I think about some of the other women that inspire me, Caroline Wanga, the CEO of Essence, someone forgot to tell her to dim her light. Even Aisha Evans, the CEO of Zeus, as they recently launched the first autonomously driven vehicle in California recently, someone forgot to tell her that you can't do that. One of the gifts I'm giving myself for my birthday is auntie status. And so if you see me in New York and I'm a little extra sassy, it's because of this. We are going boldly forward into 2023, being uninhibited, unbothered, unobscured. So on this International Women's Day, don't dim your light. Let's go boldly forward and continue to contribute and join the ranks of our most esteemed executive women members of ITSMF. Thank you so much for your time and welcome to this wonderful program. Enjoy the rest of this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Johanna, for your powerful words and call to action. I will now hand it over to Willette Glenn, who will facilitate our icebreaker. Willette, over to you. Hey, Willette, you are on mute. If you can unmute yourself, please.
I
You see people joining. That's fantastic. We'll get started shortly.
okay. Okay, I'll try again. Am I unmuted this time?
That you are.
Okay, perfect. So, in honor of International Women's Day, today's icebreaker is going to be a trivia game to test your knowledge of women's trivia or women's achievements. You're already connecting to the game. You'll have 10 seconds, so it's going to be rapid fire to answer the questions. And if you'll unmute your mic, unlike I did, but unmute your mic for an interactive experience in the game, and then the winner will receive a copy of Dents in the Ceiling, Tools Women and Allies Need to Break Through by Angel Henry. I still see a few people joining, so I'm going to give it another little bit. Now, we'll say don't expect these questions to be easy. I gave you one or two easy ones, but for the most part, they're not going to be. Okay, we've got about 42 people in, so we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, are you all unmuted? When was the first International Women's Day? right. The answer is 1909. The earliest reported Women's Day observance was called National Women's Day and was held on February 28th, 1909 in New York City. See how we're doing here. Okay. CLB, you're in the lead. Next question. What is the focus of International Women's Day? All right. So the answer was all of the above, celebrating social, cultural, economic, and political achievements of women. See how we're doing. Most of you got that one. Okay. Kylie's coming for you, CLB. And I do not hear mics unmuted. Number 3. Who is this NASA mathematician? Okay. So this is, of course, Katherine Johnson. In 1958, she became the first Black female engineer of NASA. And then in 2015, she was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Barack Obama for her impact that she made on Americans' progression as a country. See how we're doing. All right. Still doing good here. Next question. Who was the first female African American Secretary of State and the first woman to serve as National Security Advisor? Got a little hint started. All right, so Condoleezza Rice became Secretary of State on January 26, 2005. Prior to this, she was the Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs, commonly referred to as the National Security Advisor, since January 2001. Okay. CLB, you're still leading. Kylie's coming for you, though. Who is the national president of the League of Women Voters? All right, that is Deborah Turner. She serves as the 20th president of the League of Women Voters for the United States. She was elected in June 2022 and will serve until June of 2024. Kylie got you, CLB. All right, number 6. How many women of color are currently serving in U.S. Congress? The answer is 61. So that's the most women of color serving in Congress, and they're mostly Democrats. I'll let you see this little slide again. And I can share this information if you're interested, but this breakdown shows you how many are in Republicans or in the Senate and House by party affiliation. All right. Okay. I see you, Mercy. Next question. You only got a couple more to go. Who was the first Hispanic woman in the world to go into space? All right, that answer is Ellen Ochoa. She was on April 8th, 1993. She became the first Hispanic woman to go into space when she served on a 9-day mission aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery. Okay, let's see. Now, who's the Latin American folk singer who sang We Shall Overcome at the March on Washington for Civil Rights in 1963? That was Joan Baez, a singer. She's an American singer, songwriter, and musician, and activist. Her contemporary folk music often includes songs of protest and social justice. All right, we got 2 more questions to go. Kylie's in the lead. Which position did Indira Gandhi hold before her assassination in 1984? All right. She was the Indian politician and stateswoman who served as the third Prime Minister of India from 1966 to 1977, and from 1980 until her assassination in 1984. Okay. And final question coming up. Let's see who's in the lead. Uh-oh. It's going to be close. And final question. Is this the Emerge Academy mission? It's true or false? To create a place for Black women in tech to connect, collaborate, and become more self-aware. In fact, it is true. All right, let's see who's the winner. Myra in third. Kylie in second. And the winner is CLB. Runners up are Lanai and Mercy. All right, guys, thank you for playing. CLB, if you will shoot me your information, we'll get your book over to you. You can just put it in the chat. You can do a private chat to me or to the group. It doesn't matter. So thank you everyone for playing. I hope that you learned something today that you didn't know before you started.
Thank you, Willette. That was educational and fun. I'm going to have to go back and read some things. So thank you so much. We will now watch a short video with a focus on international view on equity.
So my story of equity versus equality begins at home with my family. I have a family of all females, from my mom, myself, and 3 sisters, strong, beautiful, smart females. 2 of my sisters are actually twins. And what's more equal than that, right? You have 2 people born on the same day, just 2 minutes apart from the same woman, but they're different. One of the twins is normal and able-bodied, while the other has special needs and intellectual disabilities. She's a dependent for life. She's nonverbal. She's like a toddler, regardless of how old she is. So we can't treat them the exact same way. That's what equality is, right? Treating everyone the same. But we can't treat them the exact same way because they have different abilities and different needs. So we give them what they need based on their circumstances so that they both can be successful. And that's what equity is to me, right? Recognizing that we don't all start from the same place and making the necessary adjustments for the imbalances so that everyone can come out successful. My experience with my sister has taught me unconditional love, patience, and empathy. And this has really shaped my outlook on the world and how I live my life. Equity is very, very close to my heart. And I try to lead with empathy in everything that I do. I try to treat people with kindness and respect, regardless of their background. And I also believe in the platinum rule of treating people not how you want to be treated, but how they want to be treated. Happy International Women's Day.
Hello, my name is Muiza Munyanda Muta. I was not the first in my family to go to college, but I was the first to go through the American high school system. I moved to the States going into the 8th grade. When I got here, I learned English, and then I moved into the regular classes. By the time I got to the junior year, you would have thought I was from here, essentially. And so when it came time to take the SATs and apply to colleges, I got the same information my classmates got. I went off and tried to muddle my way through. It never occurred to me to ask for help because I didn't know that counselors existed. I was never sent to them, and they never came looking for me. And so from an equality perspective, it looked like my classmates and I were starting from the same point. But from an equity perspective, I didn't have the same information that they had. And so I was starting with a bit of a disadvantage. I found out about counselors once I got to college because I applied to the only university I knew of. Luckily, I got in. And when I got there, I then found out that counselors existed, and I was able to leverage them to find the right major for me. But I had lost some time. And so while it looked like we were all starting at the same point, we were not starting with the same information. We were starting equally, but we didn't have the same equity.
The very unique perspective and approach to nurturing and developing the Emerge Academy is a dynamic 10-month leadership program for women of color in technology that is designed to support both their professional and personal progression as authentic, driven, knowledgeable, and conscious leaders. We see it as a transformational movement that takes women of color on a self-discovery journey from the inside out. So how do we do this? Well, we accomplish this through a 3-part curriculum. The first phase is called Seek, which is who I am, where we cover topics such as understanding your personal power, how to become more self-aware, and identifying your values, what matters to you. And then in the study phase, which is what I know, we discuss things like confidence and executive presence and communication and influence. And then in the final phase, that's where the ladies begin to soar. That's the final phase, soar, who I become. And there we bring it home with building your brand, how to be resilient in difficult times, as well as a focus on emotional well-being and self-care. The very unique perspective and approach to nurturing and developing women of color in technology is our secret sauce. This is a program that truly yields authentic, impactful, confident, and revolutionary leaders. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to highlight the Emerge Academy. This is an amazing portion of our program today, and I'd like to first just facilitate a bit more understanding of the Emerge Academy by reviewing a few slides, if we have those available, that we can walk through and do an overview of the Emerge Academy program. If we can, yes, back that up. So thank you so much again to the forum for this opportunity. So the Emerge Academy program, it serves to answer the $1 million question. And if we could go to the next slide, please. That $1 million question is, what does it take to be a successful Black woman in technology leadership without losing touch with who you are or what you value? And that is what Emerge aims to answer. We aim to answer that question. And I don't believe that I said, but I am Cheryl Bridges, the incoming director for the Emerge Academy with the next cohort. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So what is Emerge? You heard that really in the short video. It is a leadership program designed for senior level, mid-level, and senior level Black women leaders in technology. That is the surface of what the program is. But when you dig down deep, that's where we see it as a transformational movement that really does take women, Black women, on a self-discovery journey. And it is all about authenticity and being able to walk in who you are, no matter where you are and no matter what you're doing. And it's from the inside out. And that, again, is what we aim to answer and to help women discover during the Emerge process. Next slide, please. So what is our mission? Our mission really is to hear her voice. And we want to hear her voice so that we can align with the ITSMF's mission also, which is to increase the representation of Blacks at senior level positions. Emerge is specifically designed to help increase that representation of Black women. And we do that through the supportive environments that we offer, the curriculum that you heard about in the video, with a focus really though on the unique experience and perspectives that women leaders of color have in the workplace. It's very different for Black women and women of color. So we really want to focus on the uniqueness of their experiences. Next slide, please. What do we believe? We'll be, among other things, we believe that there are realities of balancing work and life that do impact our engagement as Black women. We also believe that creating a successful platform and focusing on an executive presence is a way to magnify the vision that we see for our Black women in the future. And then finally, we believe that identifying career opportunities and navigating bias is not something that we can do alone. It is a shared responsibility. It's something that we all have to be a part of, which we hope even that will align with our theme of Women's Day is equity. Really being able to embrace equity and facilitate equity through sharing the responsibilities. Next slide, please. And what can participants expect when you are a part of the Emerge Academy? What are some of those outcomes? And just to name a few, one is participants can expect to become stronger, more self-aware and conscious leaders. They will learn to stand more confidently in personal power. Sometimes we don't even realize the personal power that we have within. So we help the participants to identify that and stand in it strongly. We also help participants develop a leadership style and a presence, an executive presence, but it comes from a place of authenticity. Again, being able to be who you are, no matter where you are or what you're doing, leads to success for women of color in the workplace. And then finally, developing lasting relationships with other women leaders. There is no question about the bonds that are formed in the Emerge Academy. Next slide, please. So how do I apply? Not me, but you. How do you apply? Applicants must complete an application, which I believe we will be placing a link in the chat. There'll also be a QR code, I believe, that will be shown that will take you directly to the ITSMF website, which houses the application and a recommendation form that is required from either a current or inactive ITSMF member or a representative from a sponsoring company. Of course, being able to cover all of the fees and miscellaneous items that come with that. Typically, applicants are subsidized by their sponsoring companies. And the deadline for applying is April 30th. The new cohort will begin in August. So if you have not participated in Emerge and you meet the qualifications that we've discussed today, or if you know someone else who would also benefit from being a part of Emerge, please check out the website and the application process. And I can also be reached if there are any questions about the upcoming cohort, which will be the class of 2024. Next slide, please. Final slide. So it's time. It's time for us to embrace equity as a shared responsibility. And we believe that the Emerge Academy is the place where that can happen for Black women leaders in technology. So with that, I will move to the next segment of the program, which we're going to talk also about the Emerge Academy a little bit more. We are going to actually have some personal stories. We're going to hear some personal testimonies of people who have been involved in the Emerge program. We have three amazing guests that are going to be on our panel today. Two of them are alumni of the Emerge Academy. They graduated last year, and one is a current member of the class of 2023. So I would like to bring them on, and we are going to have them introduce themselves very shortly and hear about their personal experiences in Emerge. So ladies, thank you for joining today. Thank you so much. I'm glad to see everyone. So I will ask you to introduce yourselves. I'm going to start with Missy, Yatunde, and finally Lonnie, and we'll jump into our questions. So ladies, Missy.
Hi, my name is Missy Burton Young, and I was in class of 2022 Emerge Monarch cohort. I was also the capstone lead, which was an absolutely amazing experience that I will tell you all a little bit more about. I am currently a full-time photographer and author, and I am enjoying what life looks like on the other side of Emerge.
Thank you so much for being here. Yatunde, please make sure you come off mute.
Thank you, Cheryl. First of all, I just want to thank you for the honor to be able to be on this panel today. Really great to see my amazing women on the panel. Of course, love you, Missy. We were in the same cohort. So my name is Yetunde Ekunwe-Agada. I was also in Missy's cohort, which was Monarch, and I thought it was the best cohort ever, but clearly I'm biased. But with that said, I'm super excited. What I currently do for a profession is I am working in the payments driving digital migration and transformation in my current space in the consumer and small business product. So I certainly still trajectory in the technology world and trying to do innovation more holistically. And honestly, Emerge is one of the drivers as to why I switched my perspective. So more to come on that.
All right. Thank you for being here. I'm sure you'll have some argument about whatever the best class is, though. So, and Lonnie, finally, Lonnie.
Hi, and I too am excited to be here today. And I'm Lonnie Stigler, current class 7 elements here for 2023. And so far, just an overwhelming and amazing experience altogether. I am also in the payment space with MasterCard and am a director of network operations. So that's my background, that's my story, and I'm ready to get started.
All right. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm ready too. Before we jump in, let me just say that at the conclusion of the panel discussion, we will have a few minutes for Q&A. So if someone has a question for one of the panelists, you can put that in the chat and those questions will be captured and we will do our best to answer those in the time that we have. So we are going to get started. And Missy, I'm going to start with you. Knowing that you are an alumni of the Emerge Academy, tell us, in what ways did your participation in Emerge help you to better articulate our theme of embracing equity?
I was thinking about this question, and there's just so much. There's so much that I can say. This is a program that is very near and dear to my heart, and it gave me the renewed purpose to move beyond my then state prior to the program of surviving as a corporate professional and leaning into what thriving would actually look like. And as it relates to embracing equity, we can just never grow old or get tired of fighting for our place, in this world. Because we deserve all the seats at the tables, all the places, everything that's out there, we deserve it. But in order for us to fight for it, we have to know who we are and we have to know where we're going so that we can get to that equitable North Star. I remember my first day in class, which was horrifying to me. It was beautiful and was horrifying all at the same time. It was beautiful because I had all my sisters there and I just couldn't believe that I was there. But it was horrifying to me because one of the first things that Kylie said to us was, before we get started, we're going to need you all to take your mask off because we don't want to train your corporate professional. We want your corporate persona. That's what she kind of referred to. And we want to train the real you. And when she said that, I'm not good at managing my face. It's always been a thing with me in corporate America. And I was like, does she know how long it took me to get this mask, this suit of armor so that I can get through this thing? And so I felt this immediate resistance, and my spirit was like, red flags, we're not doing this. And I got through it. And I decided, I'm gonna do this thing, and I'm going to be open to every possibility that's afforded me in this program. And the one thing that I got out of this program is that I have and had everything I needed to be the woman that I'm becoming and the woman that I am. And I had it all along. I just had to do some work.
Thank you so much for that. And one of the only ways to move from surviving to thriving, I believe, is taking off that mask. Yes. So we're happy that you took that mask off. Thank you so much, Missy. So this next question is for you, Tunde. You also, as an Emerge alum, how did the Emerge Academy impact how you lead in your workspace?
Thank you for the question, Cheryl. I tell you, I certainly have always considered myself a leader throughout my career. I think Emerge was just really, first of all, gave me confidence. I recently opened up for one of our Black History Month events for our ERG network. And after it was done, someone came up to me and said, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, it's working. And you appear more confident. You sound more poised. You look very natural on there. And they actually told me, I have a recording of you 3 years ago or whatever time it was that you didn't come across that way. And I was like, that's really interesting. I know certainly Emerge happened in less than 3 years from there. So it was really lovely to get that feedback. In fact, they tried to send me the video. She couldn't find it. But I think I'm much more intentional about how I show up. I think in the past, I tried to do too much and try to do everything. And I've had teams, right? And I think when it comes to those teams, it's like, okay, let me roll up my sleeves. Let's get into it. Let's do it. It's like, no, I've got to learn how to step back, understand where I'm truly needed, delegate the responsibilities accordingly, and be much more intentional about picking my spots. So I think for me, having that ability to sort of navigate a bit more effectively in my teams and just the way I show up, I feel much more confident in everything I do. One, and then my ability to actually have time for myself, right? One of the things that we never have, right? We talk about work-life balance and management. There's no such thing as balance in my opinion, but I can at least now target specific things just to give myself some grace. So when I think about my leadership style, it's really evolved and also much more empathetic as a leader, just also giving others grace. Whereas I think in the past, it was like, you got a hard hit. Now I understand, right? We've clearly gone through a pandemic. We've seen a lot going on. People have gone through all kinds of ups and downs, family, personal, etc. But the reality is, people have to have grace. So as a leader, as a thoughtful leader, it's really important to also give that, regardless of what's going on, to take a step back, pause, and enable that for everyone around us. So I'm ever so grateful for Emerge for that ability to boost that confidence of mine.
Yes, thank you so much. That grace is so important, giving yourself grace. And when you do that, you're able to be more free to give others grace too. And I heard you talk about retiring. You didn't say it, but you really retired the cape and realized that you can still be an effective leader after retiring the cape. So thank you for that. Lonnie, let's go to you. Lonnie, again, is currently in the Emerge cohort, graduating in June of 2023. So Lonnie, let me ask you, how is Emerge helping you to use your voice and play bigger in ways that are and have been transformative for you?
Okay, so this has been a journey. And when I began this journey, there were some absolutes. There were some requirements coming in. And I needed that so that I could get the full benefit, the full experience of the program. But it wasn't just that, it was about, and what am I going to learn about me that's new or that I somehow lost over time? And how do I get that back? And so that I knew that there were a few things that I had to do. I had to do the work, be fully present and engaged and participate. And that's a little bit further than just being present. So I was initially intimidated walking into this space with so many beautiful, talented, fierce, smart women, and looking around the room, the digital room at that time, thinking, am I in the right space? Am I supposed to be here? Is this where, I'm going to get, what I need? And I did come in thinking this was just another leadership development program, and I'm not going to learn a lot new. It's just going to be, some nuggets here, some nuggets there. But I was so wrong, so wrong. Emerge Academy is, transformative in that you get to fully examine every part of your character. And this really does include how to be vulnerable, because that definitely is a strength. And it was scary. That was really a fearful space to be in. And there's so many layers that we're pulling back with really identifying who we are. And it did start that evening where we removed the mask, we removed that exterior, we took off our jewelry, we got comfortable, and we were really able to be present for the vulnerable conversation with our sisters and the questions that came out of that. So I think a part of this journey, I've been working to be more open, to really lean in and commit. It's a journey of discovery, really exploring, what courage looks like. It's about connection. It's about honesty. And I'm really, again, learning how to be my authentic self and still be a major player in the game. And I'm learning how to own my power, how to be brave enough to be vulnerable and just really use my leadership talents to influence up and to know that I deserve to be here and that I deserve to be heard. So that was a mouthful, but again, this journey is exactly that.
Thank you so much, Lonnie. Truly a journey, and that key, what you said, influencing up. That's really what this is all about too. And I've heard a couple of times I've heard we deserve this. And we do. So thank you so much. Missy, I'm going to jump back to you. When we think about even the theme of ITSMF being answering the challenge from surviving to thriving, I think you mentioned a little bit about that. How has Emerge, or how did Emerge highlight the importance of answering the challenge for you, mind, body, and soul?
That's a loaded question, Cheryl. There were several challenges that I had to answer. And I tell you, the first one was going into the program, actually. When I was accepted into the program, I got the letter, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do this training. I'm just thinking in my mind. And then my senior director said something to me, who happened to be a white male. And he said, well, if you, I don't know why you would want to go to a training that was specifically for African-American women, but if that's something you want to do, then you can go on and do it. And so I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to do it. And it was just that way he said it that was like, I was going to a training, but now I'm going to a training that is specifically targeting African-American women as IT professionals. And I don't care what you say, I'm going to do it. And then once I got into the program, those assignments, man, the assignments, like the soul work, the way they just reached into your soul and would just have you writing and talking about all of these things. That work was so hard. And I was really resistant to it a lot, because it was just everything that I had worked so hard to put up this exterior, what I thought was protecting me and making me present better. I had to take all that stuff off, and it was just so hard. And the biggest thing that, out of all the lessons, was that challenge when my sisters punked me into being the capstone lead. I was terrified. I was trying to get more votes. I was like, well, so-and-so. And they were like, no, you are the one. And like Lonnie was talking about, there were so many sisters in our cohort that I felt were so much more capable and qualified for that role. But they would not take no for an answer from me. And because of their confidence in me for that role, I had the courage to step into that role and do my absolute best for my sisters. And it was at that particular moment when I feel like our sisterhood was solidified. It was like, I've got sisters for life at this point. And it was the most amazing gift I could have ever been given at that particular point. So in the program over the 10 months, so many challenges I had to answer, but those two big ones was going into the program because a director made a comment about, why would you want to do that? And that was that challenge. And then me going forward with it and, accepting the challenge to be capstone lead that was amazing.
And I'm sure you rose to the occasion as well.
I did my best. I did my best.
That's what happened. That's where you were meant to be. You were meant to be leading it. So thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to jump and ask you all a question. When we speak in ITSMF about the secret sauce that ITSMF has, what would each of you say briefly is the secret sauce for Emerge? And Yetunde, I'll start with you.
Yeah, this was the one that got me, to be honest. I had no idea. I think it goes back to the point of, I was like, it's a leadership program. I'm just going to do it. And I've done a few of them. But I think the sense of camaraderie that was built to uplift and support each other, and where a safe space is created that we can all be our best self and thrive. Honestly, I think you just can't really describe that. For me, that was like eye-opening and shocking. I just didn't expect it. And for me, that's the secret sauce. And, that camaraderie that we built gives us support, builds confidence, and helps us just continue to be the best versions of ourselves.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Lonnie, what would you say is Emerge's secret sauce?
I think for me, or for what I'm seeing and experiencing, and then of course, being a part of S1 and hearing more from Emerge sisters that participated in different cohorts, the secret sauce is that each cohort is specific and unique, right? And it's a body of women participating in that time, in that space with you. And that's the secret to all of it. And Kylie has said it before with Emerge Academy, there are no mistakes, there are no coincidences. And I think everything is purposeful, and it's been purposefully designed and executed. And so that's the big part of it, that you figure out how to really align all of your strengths, all of your power, so that you can be your most authentic self. And so for me, I think that is the secret sauce. You get to really examine and be transparent. And that way you can be your best self, your most authentic self, and just go be great.
Thank you so much. There's definitely power in authenticity. There clearly is. And Missy, with you, what do you see as the secret sauce?
I think the secret sauce is them targeting your vulnerability from day one, realizing how we as African American women have to always be the strong one. We're the fixers of the universe. And no matter how messed up something is, people always come to us. So we always have to present strong, like, I got this all the time. And so to realize that in order to develop African American women so in a safe space where they can be their best selves, realizing that they would have to reach in and push that V button is absolutely brilliant. It's a brilliant approach to developing African American women. It took me the entire 10 months with my coach, Dr. Nadine, to be able to say out loud, I am enough as I am. On the first meeting, I could not say it without crying. But by the end of that program, I could say it out loud and look at myself in the mirror. And for someone to be able to get me to that level is absolutely phenomenal.
Yes. And you truly are enough. We are all enough. I often say, I am enough. I have enough. I do enough. And I've always been enough. We have to remember that. So quickly, let me ask Yetunde and Missy, since you have graduated from the Emerge Academy, when you think about our theme, have you been able to use and share insights and learnings and revelations to others? Yetunde?
every day. Every
Mhm.
day. One particular part of the program that I absolutely loved was Tara Moore's Playing Bigger. I feel like that was something consistent for everyone. Everyone loved that book. Everyone loved her. She spoke to us. And, you know, even though it was a book, I felt like it was a whole volume. So I think it was what, 11 chapters. Every chapter had a very specific lesson. And I do a lot of mentorship of women, men, etc. And all of those things apply, obviously, certainly more than for women. And one of the elements was executive presence, right? And how you show up. It's really about, you know, how you show up is not about, you know, what you say. It's the appearance is one element. The communication is how you communicate is another. And I tell you, so many amazing nuggets, and I call them nuggets, but each nugget is a very specific lesson. I spend a lot of time educating anyone that comes to me for help about ways to show up, the things they should be thinking about. And Tara Moore's book alone just is a volume of information that I just repeat and regurgitate constantly. And so for me, you know, you've got gravitas. That's something I think we struggle as people of color to understand how to display. And I think reiterating that message is critical, and then practicing it. So for me, that's one of the key things that I consistently reiterate across the board. So I'd say that's probably the key thing. Outside of that, you know, everything else is fair game.
All right. Thank you so much. And Missy, for you.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tunde. I am a STEM mentor as well. And so daily I am using nuggets that I learned in the Emerge program with my mentees, because I think consistently, man, I wish someone had told me this when I was first entering into corporate America. Melinda Hartz was another one of our favorites. I mean, she gave us all the secrets that we thought were secrets, and we found out that they weren't. We just didn't know them. So, and the inner mentor exercise that we got from Tara Moore is something that I teach often and I recommend often, because everyone always likes to focus on the negative self-talk, but they're unaware that we actually have that inner mentor that we can develop that can outshine the negative self-talk.
Yes, thank you for that. It's in here. We just have to tap into it.
Yeah.
So as we conclude this panel discussion, I could just keep talking to you all, but as we conclude the panel discussion, if you all could just give me 2 words, only 2 words, that would be how you describe the impact Emerge had on you. Lonnie, we'll start with you.
Oh, 2 words. I think it has been empowering, and it has been brilliant.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you. Missy?
Transformative consciousness.
Okay. And Yetunde, 2 words.
Mine's really simple. Next level.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, ladies, too. Now, if you have any questions before we actually conclude, please put them in the chat. We're here to try to answer anything you want to know about Emerge if we can. I would say, if we're waiting for any questions to pop up, if you haven't already been convinced, I believe that this amazing panel has helped to formulate additional reasons why this is so important for our Black women leaders in technology, for us to influence up, for you to share, for us to be able to pay all of this forward, but primarily the authenticity, just for us to be able to know we can show up as ourselves anywhere we go as who we are. And that's what's going to birth this blooming process and the self-discovery. So I just thank you all. Someone said, thank you so much. Will you share the books and authors that you mentioned? So ladies, if there are books and authors that you mentioned or that you want to be able to share, please put those in the chat for our audience too. That's always very informative, another way to share.
And Cheryl, if I could, in the panel, we've touched on a few things, but we missed one very crucial, important piece, and that's with the accountability circles. And I think this was an amazing concept that really seemed simple, but the significance of it to be a part of the Academy experience is life-changing for all of us. And I think it goes beyond the check-in, because we get to openly communicate, we share, we grow together, and we really help each other discover our destination, our purpose. And so I wanted to mention how beautiful that part is, to have the accountability circles in place. And I just wanted to share that last piece.
No, thank you. Right. And that goes along with that. How you all are impacted by Emerge is those long-lasting, lifelong relationships, creating that personal board of directors, creating your squad, your tribe. We definitely all need that if we are actually going to succeed. So
you cannot be authentic without that accountability.
Absolutely. Yep. We've heard authenticity numerous times. For me, that's the secret sauce, is learning to be able to be authentic and know that it is okay to be authentic. So again, the window is open for applications right now for the Emerge Academy through April 30th. That is the deadline. You can access the application on the ITSMF website. You'll see it running across the screen there, the link. It will tell you everything that is needed. Please reach out to me if you have questions as well. I'll put my email address in the chat. And lastly, before we conclude, I just want to publicly give a shout out to the current Emerge Academy director, who is Kylie Carr, who has led this amazing program through, I believe, 6 cohorts. So Kylie, I know you're here. Thank you so much. Everyone has been so impacted by your genuine leadership. And I know I have been, and I appreciate how you are helping me to, as you pass this torch on, to continue to just let Emerge just soar and soar and soar. So Kylie Carr, thank you so much. And I'm going to turn this back over to Erica and panelists. Thank you again for being here. Appreciate you all so much.
Thank you, Cheryl, Lonnie, Yatunde, and Missy. I'm also a graduate of the Emerge Academy, and the panel just warmed my heart. Hi, Missy, Yatunde, Monarchs, here we are. Miss you so much. And everything you said just totally resonated with me. The Emerge program has been transformational for me, so I am excited for those who are interested and those who are currently in the program. So now we're going to shift to a spotlight, and we're going to spotlight the Institute for the Future. And we have Natalie Lopez and Sumaya Khan, who will be joining us shortly. But before we do that, let me introduce them to you a little bit. So Natalie Lopez is an IFTF research manager, and she manages a diverse portfolio of health and social research projects. And as part of her work, she examines social patterns and gathers insights from personal and group interviews to inform futures thinking. Before joining IFTF, Natalie worked for Mujeres Unidas y Activas, a grassroots organization focused on building community power for social and economic justice. Natalie holds a Master of Public Health in Health and Social Behavior from the University of California, Berkeley, and a BS in Human Biology and Society from UCLA. Hi, Natalie. And I will also introduce Sumaya Khan. Sumaya Khan is a research manager, and she is responsible for providing research and project management for the Equitable Enterprise Initiative, alongside other social and health-related projects at Institute for the Future. Prior to joining IFTF, Sumaya was part of the inaugural cohort of the American Public Health Association Kaiser Permanente Community Health Fellowship Program, where she was tasked with creating an equity and grant-making toolkit checklist to advance equitable grant-making within Kaiser Permanente. She holds a Master of Public Health degree with a focus on health and social behavior from the University of California, Berkeley, and a BA in politics from Willamette University. Natalie and Sumaya, over to you.
Thanks so much, Erica. We're all really excited to be here with you today. This has been an incredible forum to just attend, and we're grateful to be able to present as well. I'll hand it over to Natalie now.
Thank you, Samaya, and thank you, Erica, and thank you to all who are here joining us today. My name is Natalie, and we're here really excited to celebrate not only International Women's Day, but to also provoke and hopefully inspire you all to think of the future of women, the future being the key word, as climate action leaders. Like Joanna's call to action in her opening remarks, to go boldly forward, not just in 2023, but in 2033 and even 2043 and beyond. We do have a slide deck presentation for you all, which I believe will be shared momentarily. Thank you. If we can go to the next slide, please. So Samaya and I are joining you from the Institute for the Futures, a futures organization where we are continuously asking ourselves, what if? What if women were celebrated for forging change instead of being suppressed for going against the norm? What if workplaces were designed to encourage women to thrive instead of imposing barrier after barrier? And what if every culture, every nation, every individual embraced equity instead of divisions? These questions were inspired by today's theme. And as I asked these questions, you may have started to imagine a different future, perhaps different outcomes and a different trajectory. And that's why we love to ask this question of what if? Because what if allows us to transcend the limits of short-term thinking, to change course before it's too late, and to see future possibilities. That is our expertise at Institute for the Future. Next slide. For those of you who might be less familiar with the organization, IFTF is an independent research and teaching organization that is based in Silicon Valley. We've been around for 55 years, and through these 55 years, we have helped organizations and leaders like ITSMF become future ready with practical tools, research, and programs. Our objective is to socialize the content and the tools as broadly as possible, with the hope of turning ideas about the future into actions in the present. This isn't the first time somebody has joined you all. Our colleagues Bob Johansson, Marina Gorbis, and Gabe Cervantes have presented in the past. Next slide. At IFTF, we are in the business of foresight and not prediction. It's a key difference that I want to hone in on today. Predictions are about getting the future right, and by definition are purposefully narrow. So they also lose value as the future comes to life because they can either be right or wrong. Next slide. On the other hand, forecasts are about provocation, not accuracy. That doesn't mean that they're random statements pulled out from thin air. They're grounded on data, they're grounded on facts. In contrast to predictions, as well as them being right or wrong, we sometimes want forecasts to be wrong. At IFTF, we believe that there's many possible futures, and some of those futures include futures of collapse. And so the point being that forecasts are nuanced, they're not either or, and in fact, the best forecasts are broad and encompass various points of view. Samaya will now be walking us through an example forecast.
Great. Can we go to the next slide, please? So we're briefly going to talk about this forecast that we did around the future of climate action. And in a moment, I'll go deeper into what climate action means. But this was a project in partnership with the Climate Investment Fund, also known as CIF, which is a leading multilateral climate fund that accelerates climate action in developing countries. So we worked on this report back in 2019. And can we go to the next slide, please? Where you might recall that Greta Thunberg caught the world's attention by challenging world leaders to take action for climate change mitigation. Oh, sorry. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So this was kind of a turning point for climate change advocacy, right? And resulted in multiple protests across different regions. And studies at this point came out showing that more individuals were claiming that they both better understood climate change and were more worried about the effects of it. So CIF wanted to work with us to build a forecast and think about what the potentials of the future of climate action or climate change could be. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is the map that we created for this project. And our goal here was really to accelerate momentum towards a new conversation or to look for new opportunities 10 years down the line. So you'll see that this is the future of climate action and not climate change. Because what we want to do is think about a new narrative that galvanizes and inspires action. So in this future, climate influences every aspect of our daily lives. It pushes us to care for the earth, for ourselves, and the generations to come. So the focus is really on opportunity, on meaning and possibility, rather than what we generally default to, I believe, in this space, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So this future of climate action is describing the hopeful signals of change today, and it presents some positive scenarios of tomorrow. So you'll see here that there are quite a few different considerations or opportunities that we can tap into for this future. But if we go to the next slide, I want to just focus on one of those opportunities, which is women as climate action leaders. So we know from research and reports that women are disproportionately suffering from the impacts of climate change, and that these vulnerabilities stem from a number of factors: social, economic, cultural. And in many countries, women are tasked with caring for the land without having equal opportunity to own it. And as this climate is changing, those tasks of gathering the essentials are becoming more difficult, and it's resulting in higher climate-related hazards, higher workloads, and is causing increased psychological and emotional stress. So in public health, and I believe in other fields as well, we often talk about how those who are closest to the problem are also closest to the solution. And that is the case here as well. Next slide, please. So in our forecast, we highlighted how in 10 years, women are going to play a variety of roles in various areas. And as high-level policymakers, they're going to be responsible for increased international cooperation. In rural and developing countries, they're going to be responsible for leveraging social and familial roles and engaging and changing the public sentiment on climate action. So the communities and frameworks that are tapping into the organizing ability and the knowledge capital that women hold are going to be far more successful in climate action efforts than those that continue this status quo of underrepresentation. So this is kind of just a general overview of our 2019 forecast, but I'm going to pass it back to Natalie now to share some examples that we've seen in the past few years that are supporting these possibilities and potentials.
Thank you, Samaya. And when we think about these newer data points, we often like to think about them as signals. If we can go to the next slide, please. So signals are early indicators of where the future is headed. They can be practices, they can be products, initiatives, or even approaches that give us a sneak peek into what is to come if they were to scale. I'm going to highlight 3 signals that show us women as climate action leaders in the present, in today's world. And they are all working towards creating a more equitable world. The first signal, which you see a little graph of here in the presentation, is actually a data point from a report by the Natural Resource Defense Council. And they found that in a study of 130 countries, women in government leadership positions are more likely than men to sign on into international treaties taking action on climate change. So let's just think about that for a second. The more women there are on government leadership positions, the more likely they are to sign effective policy that is going to contribute to climate action. In other words, women are true superheroes. Why does this matter? Well, there's a strong connection between what women leaders are likely to take on and their focus on equity and inclusivity. The next, I'm going to share another number with you all right now, and it might not be news to you, but I do think that it warrants repetition. Women in tech are grossly underrepresented, making up 0.7% of the tech workforce in 2020. In its 26-year history, ITSMF has taken tremendous strides in changing the course for Black professionals in technology, as we are all here today, a huge undertaking that warrants applause. But what if we take this a step further? What if ITSMF were to leverage the skills and the lessons learned in this history to specifically focus on bringing women to the forefront, as we're already witnessing with the Emerge Academy? And more importantly, ensuring that they stay there. What would that mean for ITSMF? And also, what can that do to climate action? A second signal on this next slide is Data for Black Lives. Data for Black Lives is an organization dedicated to, one, fighting discriminatory use of digital technologies, and two, imagining and pursuing uses of such technology to better the lives of Black people, thereby advancing racial justice and equity. I do want to call out, and we have a beautiful picture of her here, that it was co-founded by a Black woman, Yeshi Milner. So what can we take from this signal? Data for Black Lives is part of a larger social justice technology movement that is gaining momentum and mainstream recognition. By addressing the ways in which data and technology perpetuate systemic racism and inequality, Data for Black Lives is working to address the root causes of climate change and its impact on marginalized communities. So I know that ITSMF members are grounded in data, they're entrenched in tech. So what if ITSMF pooled its tech resources and creativity to create your own systems to propel even further what Data for Black Lives is creating? Imagine the kind of impact that that can have. And our last signal is on education. Next slide, please. So believe it or not, improving education for girls ranked as one of the best strategies for reducing emissions. According to Project Johnson, one of the top 100 most effective activities for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, educating girls placed in 6th place. So the Brookings Institute sees 3 connections to this: advancing reproductive health, rights, and fostering climate leadership and pro-environmental decisions can be seen as one of the future activities. And so what this study highlights is the intersectional nature of climate crisis and the multiple benefits of improving, focusing on education to improve equity and building capacity. One of the key themes of International Women's Day is building capacity. So what if in 10 years, ITSMF took a more critical role in educating young women in not just technology, but also more holistically in climate change? Imagine what kind of impact that can have, not just in the child's life, but for ITSMF as an organization and more broadly climate action. I'm going to hand it over to Samaya now, but I hope that these questions can stay and that you can ponder on with them as we move forward, not just in today, but into the future as well.
Great, thanks, Natalie. Can we go to the next slide, please? So as we were thinking and preparing for this talk, thinking about the forecast that we shared, some signals, and more importantly, the mission and the vision of this forum and International Women's Day, we wanted to share this quote from Shira Carraza, who's the managing director of the Women's Forum from the Economy and Society. And this was found in their Women Leading Climate Action Women Leading Climate Action report. And it reads, "Our focus should not be on women as victims of climate change, rather on how they can be leaders, designers, and implementers of solutions, and how we can all take action that enables them to fulfill these roles." So this was a quote that really resonated because it does relate to the forecasts and signals that we shared, but the sentiments of this quote, I think, really transcend the area of climate change, because we're seeing that building workplaces or capacity for women has proven to be effective and fruitful. We've seen how empowering women worldwide has resulted in incredible programs and ideas, and we've celebrated and will continue to celebrate women who are forging change, not just in climate action, but across industries. And we've heard from some incredible women today on this forum, and all of you attending as well. So next slide, please. With that, we just wanted to finish off by inviting you all to think about what the potentials and possibilities are in your field when it comes to embracing equity. How can you use your voice to provoke and inspire? And what is your what if statement? Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie and Sumaya. Really informational and encouraging words, and actually allowing us to kind of learn some new things and go and do some research as well. So lastly, I would like to pass it on to Sabrina Robinson, who will provide closing remarks. Sabrina, over to you.
Thank you, Erica. And thank you, Samaya and Natalie, for your talk on women as climate action leaders. Those closest to the problem are also closest to the solution. That really hit home for me. So I ask you all, what problems are you closest to? What if you were the force to bring about a solution? I also want to take a moment out to thank Erica for being our mistress of ceremonies today, everyone who participated in our International Women's Day program, and especially you that joined us. We wouldn't be here without you. So we started today with a call to action to go boldly forward, and we ended with the question, what if? As I think about the theme, embrace equity, I'm reminded of an old commercial, and that commercial said, to hold the pickles, hold the lettuce. Special orders don't upset us. All we ask is that you let us serve it your way. You know, I found it funny, but as I think about equity, it can be defined as giving everyone what they need to be successful. In other words, it's not giving everyone the exact same thing. If we gave everyone the exact same thing, expecting that it will make people equal, it assumes that everyone started in the same place. And this can be vastly inaccurate because everyone isn't the same. We heard that from Stephanie as she talked about her twin sisters. So let's take equity from a moment with the theme of the International Women's Day and turn it into a movement where we all focus on the platinum rule, which is doing unto others as they would have you do unto them. So before we end, I have a few slides that I want to share with you for some information regarding Emerge Academy as well as ITSMF. So as a reminder, the application for the Emerge Academy is open now. The QR code that is displayed here can take you to the site, and that application period closes April 30th of this year. Next slide. If you are interested in learning more about IT Senior Management Forum or ITSMF, feel free to click on this QR code and you will not regret it. ITSMF is an amazing organization and membership definitely has its privileges. Next slide. If you want to contribute to the efforts of ITSMF to help continue with our programming, as well as making deposits into the various academies, we have a link here where you can click on and make a donation. Certainly, we are a nonprofit organization that benefits from folks like you helping to move our efforts forward. And next slide. Also, we have an amazing college mentoring and scholarship program. The college mentoring program was actually started by graduates of the Emerge Academy. It is an amazing program. Please feel free to click on the QR code to learn more about that program and find out how you can help it continue to be a success. Next. So thank you so much again for participating with us. We ask that you go boldly and consider your what if. Thank you to everyone who helped us, and we appreciate your partnership. Have a wonderful day. And remember, embrace equity. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us.